The door clicked shut behind her, but it wasn't the sound of it closing that kept me rooted to the spot. It was the words. Those words. "You have 48 hours to get your things out. My new boyfriend owns this house now." She didn't even look at me when she said it. Her eyes were cold, detached. But I could see the slightest tremor in her hand when she handed me the papers. Not fear, no. It was relief. She had been waiting for this moment, the moment she could finally move on without the burden of my presence in her life. I felt nothing, not even surprise, only a flicker of something, darker. I looked at the papers she handed me, glanced up at her, and smiled. Not out of malice, but out of something far colder. "I'll get it done," I said, as if it were an everyday task, like taking out the trash. She nodded and walked away, a sense of finality in every step. But I knew something she didn't. I didn't need to investigate her infidelity at first. The signs had been there for months, maybe even longer. The late nights, the unexplained absences, the way she started dressing differently. But I didn't act on any of it, not yet. I needed proof. The mind demands it. I'd checked the phone records first. An innocuous search, nothing overt, just a name that kept cropping up. Jared. The same name I'd found a month earlier when I caught her texting him in the middle of the night. "Just catching up," she'd said. "Old friends." I wasn't stupid. Old friends don't text at 3 a.m. But that wasn't the point. I didn't need to confront her. No, I was playing a longer game. So I did what I had to. I hired a private investigator. I tracked their movements. Jared wasn't just an old friend. He was a constant fixture in her life, a shadow in my house. I even found a receipt once, tucked in the corner of her desk drawer. A hotel. The one she had said she'd gone to for a business retreat. Only it wasn't a retreat. It was a weekend away with him. And still, I didn't confront her. Not yet. The night before she handed me the divorce papers, I made sure to get the final piece of the puzzle, the DNA test. I knew he wasn't my son's father. I had known the day I looked at my son's eyes and saw nothing of me in them. A child doesn't lie. His eyes did. But I waited, and when the results came back, I didn't flinch. The morning after the papers were signed, I made sure to get the final piece of the puzzle, the DNA test. I knew he wasn't my son's father. I had known the day I looked at my son's eyes and saw nothing of me in them. A child doesn't lie. His eyes did. But I waited, and when the results came back, I didn't flinch. The morning after the papers were signed, I sat at the kitchen table, sipping coffee, watching her as she prepared breakfast. She was humming, oblivious. The weight of the truth pressed heavily in my chest, but I said nothing. I didn't have to. She handed me the papers, told me to leave. But she was about to see something she hadn't considered. I was no longer part of her life. She'd made the decision, but I would control the aftermath. I smiled again, a hollow, empty smile. "I'll get it done," I repeated. The words didn't sound like they had the same meaning anymore. She didn't know it, but the moment she handed me the papers, she sealed her own fate. Jared arrived 2 days later. He stood in the doorway, looking smug, like he had won. My wife stood beside him, her hand on his arm, as if she were making an announcement to the world. I didn't look at them. I didn't need to. I led them inside. They were surprised to find the house quiet. The boxes I'd packed were gone, just as she had ordered. She thought it was over, but it was just beginning. Jared's footsteps echoed through the house, but it was the tension in his posture that gave him away. The house was still mine, every inch of it, every room, every wall. The weight of ownership pressed down on him, and I could see the growing discomfort on his face. I hadn't even had to do much. The signatures, the legal documents, the offshore accounts, it was all too easy. But Jared didn't know that yet. He stepped into the living room, his gaze scanning the space, trying to look at ease. I stood still, hands in my pockets, calm, calculated. My wife gave him an encouraging smile. "It's our house now," she said, her voice full of pride. He didn't respond. Not immediately. I watched as the truth settled on him, slowly, like a fog rolling in. He looked at the framed certificates on the wall, the ones that named me as the sole owner of this house, the ones that gave me absolute power. I waited. I don't understand," Jared finally muttered, glancing at my wife. The realization was sinking in. My wife's smile faltered. "You think you own this place, don't you?" I said, my voice cold. "You think you've taken everything from me." Jared's face was pale now. His hands were shaking. He turned to my wife, searching her for some sort of validation, but she was silent. "I've already made sure this house stays exactly where it belongs," I continued, my voice steady. "And Jared, you're a guest here, just like you were before. And guests don't own anything." Her eyes widened. She took a step back. Jared turned, slowly, staring at me, unable to say anything. There was nothing to say. I just smiled again. I sat in my car that evening, the house behind me growing smaller in the rearview mirror. I felt nothing. No sense of victory, no satisfaction, just peace. The truth had been exposed, and the weight of it had crushed them both. But I wasn't done. I never intended to be. I never went back. And as the silence of my life settled in, I felt the last piece of me, the one I had left behind for her, finally disappear.